The night sky is not a silent void, but a chorus of ancient voices. For thousands of years, every human culture has looked up and seen more than just points of light. They saw celestial guardians, a pantheon of gods, heroes, and beasts whose epic stories explain the very motion of the stars. This journey reveals how these myths were humanity's first and most profound science, giving order to the cosmos and meaning to our place within it. You will discover how stories of solar chariots and polar bears written in starlight-shaped calendars guided voyages and forged the identity of entire civilizations. We will uncover why a wandering planet became a capricious god, and how an eclipse was seen as a dragon swallowing the sun. What deep human need turns the impersonal mechanics of the heavens into a drama of divine personalities. By the end, you will never look at the constellations the same way again. What story does the sky tell above your home tonight? In the deep quiet of a prehistoric night, a single figure sits by a fading fire, their eyes fixed on the shimmering dome above. Their fingers move in the soft earth, not drawing random lines but connecting the brilliant specks into familiar shapes. This instinct to see a bear, a hunter, or a great serpent in the random scatter of stars is perhaps our oldest shared story. It stems from a profound and universal human trait, the need to anthropomorphize. When faced with the vast, silent, and often terrifying unknown, our ancestors did what came most naturally. They populated it with minds and motives like their own. Terrifying cycle, cultures worldwide wove myths of epic daily journeys. In Egypt, as the first light painted the eastern sands gold, it was seen as the rebirth of the god Ra. He was believed to sail across the sky in a magnificent solar bark, a divine boat that carried him from dawn to dusk. This was not a metaphor for the educated elite, it was the literal truth of the cosmos. His voyage through the 12 hours of the day was a perilous one, facing the serpent of chaos, Apep, who sought to devour him and plunge the world into eternal night. Every sunrise was therefore a victory, a reaffirmation that order would triumph over chaos. Across the Mediterranean, the ancient Greeks envisioned their sun god, Helios, driving a chariot of fire drawn by 4 magnificent steeds across the dome of heaven. His sister, the moon goddess Selene, would then take her own chariot across the night sky. This imagery provided a clear, powerful narrative for time itself, the sun's path marking the hours with the steady rhythm of celestial hooves. Far to the east in Japanese mythology, the sun was personified as Amaterasu, the goddess who illuminates the world from the plane of high heaven. In a famous myth, after a conflict with her brother, she retreats into a cave, plunging the world into darkness. The other gods must lure her out with celebration and a mirror, restoring light to the world. This story beautifully encapsulates the anxiety of winter and the joyous return of the sun, framing the seasonal cycle as a divine emotional journey. These solar myths did more than just tell a good story. They were humanity's first timekeeping systems. The sun's predictable path created the fundamental unit of the day. Its shifting points of sunrise and sunset over the year marked the solstices and equinoxes, carving the year into seasons for planting and harvest. The sun guardian was thus the ultimate symbol of reliability and order. Its guaranteed return after the terrifying darkness of night was a cosmic promise of renewal, a theme of light conquering shadow that would be echoed in the quieter, more mysterious guardian of the night sky. Yet the sun's unwavering daily victory was only half the cosmic story. In the velvet darkness, a softer, more mysterious guardian rose, one whose face changed with a haunting regularity. Picture a village generations ago, gathered under a clear night sky as the familiar silver disk begins to darken, its light swallowed by a deep, coppery shadow. A lunar eclipse was not a predictable astronomical event. It was a moment of profound uncertainty, a time when the moon guardian seemed to be taken or to turn away. This celestial body, so different from the sun's constant blaze, became the guardian of everything the sun was not, the realm of the subconscious, of fertility, of the hidden rhythms of life and the intimate passage of time. Its ever-shifting phases provided a celestial clock that measured months, not days, and its gentle light illuminated the world of dreams, tides, and growth. The myths that grew around the moon reflect this intimate, cyclical nature. In Greek tradition, Selene was the goddess who drove her moon chariot across the night, a figure of serene and beautiful passage. Her story was often one of quiet love and longing, such as her romance with the mortal Endymion, whom she visited in eternal sleep, a myth that ties the moon to the world of dreams and stasis. Far across the world, in Chinese legend, the moon is home to Chang, the Lady of the Moon. Her tale is one of sacrifice and bittersweet eternity, having ascended to the lunar palace after consuming an elixir of immortality, forever separated from her beloved husband on earth. She is not a ruler of the day, but a symbol of lonely beauty, reunion, and the festivals that mark the harvest moon. For the Maya, the goddess Ixchel embodied the moon's power in even more direct ways. She was a multifaceted deity of childbirth, healing, and weaving, her light governing the fertility of women and the growth of crops, as well as the powerful pull of the ocean's tides. The waxing and waning moon directly mirrored the human cycle of gestation and the ebb and flow of life itself. Here, the celestial narrative shifts from a story of conquest to a story of transformation. The moon's guardians taught that change was not something to be feared, but a natural, divine rhythm. Its disappearance each month was not a defeat, but a necessary rest, a time of gathering strength before being reborn as a slender crescent. This provided a profound cosmic reassurance, the idea that all things, from the seasons to human emotions, follow a pattern of loss and renewal written in the stars. While the sun's story was one of heroic constancy, the moon's was a poem of fluidity, directly linking human biology and emotion to the heavens. Its softer light inspired myths of reflection, intuition, and the inner world, preparing our ancestors to look up at the stars that did not seem to change at all, and to wonder what eternal stories they might hold. While the moon's soft light governed the intimate rhythms of life, the fixed stars above offered a different kind of map, one of eternal stories. Across the world, in deserts, on tundras, and by the sea, people looked up and saw not just random points, but entire mythologies etched in light. They connected those dots, drawing lines between stars to form the shapes of heroes, beasts, and sacred objects, creating constellations, the most enduring and widespread form of celestial guardianship. This was humanity's first attempt at celestial cartography, a way to impose narrative order on the overwhelming vastness. In ancient Greece, the mighty hunter Orion was forever placed in the sky, his belt of 3 bright stars a universal landmark, perpetually chasing the delicate cluster of the Pleiades sisters. This was not just a pretty picture, it was a cosmic drama playing out season after season, a reminder of epic tales of love, hubris, and destiny. On the other side of the world, Chinese astronomers organized the sky into 4 majestic celestial palaces, each guarded by a symbolic creature. The azure dragon of the east presided over the spring stars, its sinuous form winding through the heavens, governing growth and renewal. Far to the north, the Inuit people saw not a bear, but the constellation of the caribou, its stars tracing the antlers and legs of the animal essential to their survival, its movement signaling migration and hunting seasons. These patterns served profoundly practical purposes. They were magnificent mnemonic devices, turning the chaotic star field into a memorable storybook. A farmer in Mesopotamia knew to plant when the constellation of the plough, part of our Taurus, appeared at dawn. A Polynesian navigator reading the ocean of stars from a canoe would steer by the rising of the Southern Cross. The sky became a rotating calendar and a compass, its turning pages dictated by these celestial guardians. But more than that, these star maps were projections of cultural values. Every constellation carried a lesson, a warning, or an ideal. The story of the vain Queen Cassiopeia, placed in her chair in the northern sky, taught about humility. The loyal dogs, Canis Major and Minor, forever following Orion, spoke of fidelity. The night sky was not just a scientific guide, it was a moral one, a grand, illuminated manuscript where a culture's most important stories and laws were written for all to see. This global practice of mapping meaning onto the stars reveals a universal human truth. We navigate our world best when we see it as a story. And within this grand, slow-moving theater, there were a few actors whose behavior defied the predictable script, whose strange, wandering paths demanded an even more dramatic explanation. But the fixed stars, for all their grandeur, were predictable. They told the same stories season after season, century after century. Their steady procession offered a comforting rhythm. Yet among these eternal patterns, a handful of lights refused to follow the rules. They moved on their own secret paths, sometimes speeding ahead, sometimes slowing, and even, most baffling of all, reversing course against the starry backdrop. The ancient Greeks called them planets, the wanderers, and these celestial rebels demanded the most complex and powerful guardians of all. To explain their erratic dance, our ancestors saw them not as distant lights, but as willful, active gods, moving with purpose and personality through the heavens. Their very behavior dictated their divine roles. The swiftest wanderer, completing its orbit in just 88 days, was Mercury, the nimble messenger god of the Romans, always darting close to the sun. The brilliantly shining evening and morning star was Venus, named for the goddess of love and beauty, whose radiant presence dominated the twilight. The red-hued wanderer, with its longer, more deliberate cycle, became Mars, the fierce and uncompromising god of war. The largest and most stately of them, moving with a slow, regal pace, was Jupiter, the king of the gods, a symbol of authority and expansion. And the slowest, most distant visible planet, taking nearly 30 years to circle the sky, was Saturn, the old, stern god of time and harvest. This was not arbitrary naming. The Babylonians, masterful celestial observers, had already linked the largest planet to their supreme god, Marduk, seeing its kingly prominence as a direct reflection of divine power. The personalities of these planetary guardians were inferred directly from their observed motions. A planet that suddenly halted and moved backward, what we call retrograde motion, was not a mechanical anomaly. It was a god pausing, changing their mind, or acting on a sudden whim. A planet growing brighter was a deity drawing nearer, taking a more active interest in earthly affairs. This narrative framework was a sophisticated attempt to model irregular celestial motion through the only logic our ancestors had, the logic of intention, of story. It transformed the cold mathematics of orbits into a gripping celestial soap opera, where the interactions of these powerful beings directly influenced fate, personality, and events on Earth. This belief gave rise to astrology, the idea that the positions of these wandering gods at one's birth could map one's destiny. The planetary guardians thus became the most personal link between the cosmic drama and daily human life. Their unpredictable paths presented a profound challenge, a puzzle written in light that would, in time, push humanity beyond storytelling and toward a new kind of understanding. The very need to predict the whims of these gods would become the quiet engine for a revolution. While the wanderers moved to their own mysterious rhythms, one point in the northern sky remained perfectly, eerily still. If you could watch the heavens over many hours, you would see all the stars wheel in a grand, silent circle around a single, fixed pivot. This was the cosmic axis, the unmoving heart of the turning sky, and cultures worldwide envisioned a powerful guardian holding this celestial nail in place. For the ancient Chinese, this pivotal region was governed by Daomu, the mother of the Dipper. She was not just a star, but a cosmic matriarch, the mother of the 9 stars of the Big Dipper, which itself was seen as the celestial chariot of the emperor. As the Dipper rotated around the pole, pointing the way through the seasons, Daomu represented the ultimate source of cosmic order and maternal protection, the still center from which all celestial movement flowed. In Greek mythology, the constellation Ursa Minor, the little bear which contains our North Star, Polaris, was linked to the nymph Callisto. Transformed into a bear and later placed in the sky by Zeus, her eternal circling around the pole was seen as a form of celestial guardianship, a protective presence fixed at the top of the world. But perhaps the most profound vision of this axis came from the Norse. They saw the entire universe as the world tree, Yggdrasil. Its immense roots reached into the underworld, its trunk held up the realm of humans, and its highest branches, touching the very dome of the sky, were anchored to the polar star. This was the Axis Mundi, the world pillar. The steadfast pole star was literally the nail holding the cosmos together, the fixed point around which all creation turned. These polar guardians served the most crucial practical and philosophical role. For a sailor on the open sea or a traveler crossing a trackless desert, that unmoving point was a literal lifesaver, an eternal reference for finding true north. But on a deeper level, this immovable center answered a fundamental human longing for stability. In a world of constant change, seasons turning, empires rising and falling, the polar guardian was a promise. It said that however chaotic life might seem, the universe itself had a fixed point, a central ordering principle. It transformed the sky from a confusing swirl into a comprehensible wheel with a clear, divine hub. This concept of a celestial anchor gave people the courage to navigate not just oceans, but the uncertainties of existence itself, knowing that somewhere above, a constant light held everything in its place. And just as this central pole ordered the heavens, the stories of the stars that endlessly circled it, never dipping below the horizon, offered a different kind of eternal narrative. These eternal sentinels, forever circling the celestial pole, offered a unique kind of reassurance. For cultures living under the high northern skies, constellations like the Great Bear, Ursa Major, never vanished with the seasons. They were always there, pivoting slowly around that fixed point, performing an endless, silent vigil. This perpetual presence transformed them from seasonal characters into something far more profound. They became symbols of the undying, of resilience that outlasts the cycles of birth and decay. In Norse belief, the shimmering, ethereal lights of the aurora borealis were not just a beautiful phenomenon. They were the Bifrost Bridge made manifest, or the radiant armor of the Valkyries. Some traditions held that these dancing lights were the reflections from the shields of the Einherjar, the honored warriors feasting in Odin's Hall of Valhalla. Here, the celestial spectacle was directly linked to the idea of an eternal, watchful community of heroes, their glory forever painted across the polar night, a constant reminder of courage that never fades. Similarly, the delicate star cluster of the Pleiades, known as the Seven Sisters, is circumpolar for many observers. While it appears in myths globally, its never-setting status for some Native American nations cemented its role as a group of immortal beings. To the Kiowa, their story is one of unity and escape, 7 sisters who were placed in the sky to save them, becoming the closely bound stars we see today. For the Cheyenne, they were divine children who became stars, their eternal dance in the heavens a model of harmony and perpetual motion. Their constant presence overhead meant they were not visitors, but permanent fixtures of the cosmic landscape, like elders who never leave the hearth. This offered a powerful psychological anchor. While other constellations like Orion would sink below the horizon, seemingly dying for a part of the year, these circumpolar sentinels were always on duty. They were the eternal guardians, the ancestors who never truly departed, their unwavering light a comfort against the fear of total darkness, both literal and metaphorical. They taught that some things are constant, that even in the deepest winter of the world or the soul, certain guides remain fixed in their watchful patterns. This concept of the undying sentinel stands in stark contrast to the celestial events that were breathtaking precisely because they were temporary, the sudden, dramatic interruptions to the sky's eternal routine that sparked some of humanity's most vivid and urgent stories. But the eternal sentinels, for all their comfort, could not protect against a sudden, terrifying anomaly. In the middle of a bright afternoon, the sun's light would begin to fade. A cold shadow would race across the land, and day would turn to an eerie, premature night. For ancient peoples, a solar eclipse was not a predictable alignment. It was a moment of cosmic crisis, a sign that the celestial guardians themselves were under attack. These transient, dramatic events, eclipses and the sudden appearance of fiery comets, were seen as moments of divine conflict, urgent omens written in a language of fire and shadow. They revealed that the orderly sky was not always peaceful, that the relationships between these powerful beings could be dynamic and sometimes violent. To manage this terror, cultures crafted some of their most vivid crisis narratives. In Hindu tradition, the solar eclipse is the story of Rahu, a cunning demon who managed to drink a drop of the nectar of immortality. The sun and moon gods alerted Lord Vishnu, who swiftly decapitated him, but because he had tasted the nectar, Rahu's head became immortal. It now eternally chases the sun and moon across the sky, swallowing them in revenge whenever he catches them, only for them to pass out through his severed throat. In China, a celestial dragon was said to be responsible for consuming the sun or moon during an eclipse. The response was not passive fear, but active community ritual. People would bang drums, pots, and pans to make a tremendous noise to scare the dragon away and restore the heavenly light. These were not just stories, they were psychological tools, transforming a senseless, frightening event into a narrative with a clear villain, a known cause, and a prescribed action to set things right. They gave people agency in the face of cosmic chaos. Similarly, the sudden, unexpected streak of a comet with its long, fiery tail was rarely seen as a beautiful spectacle. It was a portent, a divine messenger often bearing news of upheaval. The famous Bayeux Tapestry, which chronicles the Norman conquest of England in 1066, prominently depicts Halley's comet blazing in the sky. To the Anglo-Saxons who saw it, this celestial visitor was interpreted as a dire omen foretelling the downfall of their king, Harold. For William the Conqueror and his forces, the same comet was a heavenly sign of their divine right to victory. The comet itself was neutral, a ball of ice and dust, but human need projected a story onto it, making it an active participant in history. These narratives of clashing guardians served a profound purpose. They explained terrifying anomalies in the familiar order. They turned random celestial mechanics into a gripping drama where harmony had been disrupted and must be restored through human prayer, ritual, or interpretation. This very need to understand, predict, and placate the warring gods of the sky would become the quiet, relentless engine for a deeper, more careful study of the heavens themselves. That shimmering band of diffuse light arching across the darkest night is our own galaxy seen from within, a river of stars so vast the mind can scarcely hold it. Yet for countless generations, long before telescopes revealed its true nature, this was exactly what people saw: a celestial river, a luminous pathway, or spilled divine essence painting the heavens. This starry river demanded its own guardians and its own stories, becoming one of the most universal and poignant canvases for myth. In ancient Greece, the name we still use today tells the story, the Milky Way. It was said to have been formed when the infant Heracles was brought to the sleeping goddess Hera to nurse, granting him divine strength. When she awoke and pushed him away, her milk sprayed across the sky, creating that ethereal, winding band. Here, the galaxy is not a place but an event, a moment of divine nurture frozen in light, connecting the cosmos to the most intimate of beginnings. Far to the east in Chinese mythology, this same river of stars held a tale of heartbreaking love. It was the celestial river, the Silver River, a wide, shimmering barrier placed in the heavens to separate the Weaver Girl, a star we know as Vega, from her beloved cowherd, the star Altair. Their love was so deep it distracted them from their celestial duties, and as punishment, they were placed on opposite banks. Only once a year, on the 7th day of the 7th lunar month, a bridge of magpies forms across the starry river, allowing them a single, fleeting reunion. This story, celebrated during the Kixi festival, wove the galaxy directly into the human experience of longing, separation, and the joyous hope of connection, turning the sky into a map of eternal emotion. For many Aboriginal Australian cultures, the Milky Way is a pathway, a river of dust and light trodden by ancestral beings during the dreaming. It is a highway connecting sacred sites on Earth to the spirit world above, its features representing celestial versions of landscapes, animals, and creator spirits. In some traditions, it is a river where the ancestor Barnumber, the morning star, travels, pulling behind her a rope of light that is the dawn. These fluvial myths did profound cultural work. They explain the galaxy's unique, misty, and non-star-like appearance through the logic of liquid, dust, or spirit energy. More importantly, they integrated this overwhelming spectacle into a sacred geography. The river in the sky mirrored the life-giving rivers on Earth, creating a cosmic symmetry that connected all realms, the earthly, the celestial, and the spiritual. It was a bridge and a barrier, a source of creation and a road for the soul's journey. This universal vision of the heavens as a navigable pathway, whether of water, light, or spirit, reveals a deep human impulse to see the cosmos not as a wall but as a road. And if the sky was a road, then surely it could be read, followed, and used to find one's way. The starry river above was more than a story, it was a map. For the greatest open ocean voyagers the world has ever known, the Polynesians, the celestial guardians were not just spiritual figures, they were crew members, essential guides on voyages spanning thousands of miles of trackless Pacific. Without a single compass or chart, they navigated by reading a living sky, memorizing a star compass where over 220 stars rose and set at precise points on the horizon. Each star was a beacon, and each constellation held a story that locked its position into memory. The constellation we call Scorpius was not a scorpion to them, but the great fishhook of the demigod Maui, who used it to pull the Hawaiian Islands from the sea. When that distinctive, hooked pattern of stars appeared in a specific part of the sky, it was not just a myth recalled, it was a clear directional marker, telling the navigator exactly where they were on the ocean's vast grid. This was myth fused with high-precision science, a celestial GPS encoded in narrative. Across the globe, Mediterranean traders like the Phoenicians relied on another circumpolar sentinel. The Greeks called it the Great Bear, but the Phoenicians knew it as their primary guide. The star Kochab in the bowl of the Little Bear was their key northern marker long before Polaris took that role. The slow, predictable circling of these bear constellations around the pole provided a constant, rotating clock and compass, allowing merchants to sail confidently from port to port under the watchful eyes of celestial beasts. In ancient Egypt, survival depended not on the sea, but on the Nile's annual flood. The timing of this life-giving event was announced by a brilliant guardian, the star Sirius. Just before dawn in mid-July, Sirius would reappear in the eastern sky after a 70-day absence. This heliacal rising was the signal, and the Egyptians saw it as the return of the goddess Sopdet, whose arrival caused the Nile to overflow its banks. Her star was so crucial that their calendar was built around its cycle, marking the new year. Here, a celestial event, wrapped in divine personality, dictated the agricultural and spiritual rhythm of an entire civilization. In all these cases, the myth was the manual. The story of the guardian made the stars' purpose and timing unforgettable, transforming abstract astronomy into vital, life-saving knowledge passed from elder to apprentice across generations. This was the utilitarian heart of celestial mythology, where the drama of the gods directly enabled human exploration, commerce, and survival. As the horizons of human travel expanded, pushing into uncharted oceans and continents, the old stories remained, but the sky began to whisper a new kind of truth, one that demanded a different kind of observation. The reliability of celestial guardians reached its most vital expression not on the open sea, but in the tilled soil of a farmer's field. For the vast majority of human history, survival was a precise dance with the seasons, and the sky provided the only music. The steady, predictable return of certain stars and constellations became the world's first agricultural almanac, a divinely sanctioned calendar written in light. The myths that grew around these seasonal markers transformed celestial mechanics into stories of loss, return, and the enduring promise of renewal, directly linking the fate of the gods to the bounty of the harvest. In ancient Greece, the cycle of the seasons was explained through the poignant story of Demeter, the goddess of the harvest, and her daughter Persephone. When Persephone was taken to the underworld, Demeter's grief plunged the world into winter, a time of barrenness and cold. Her daughter's annual return brought Demeter's joy, and with it the spring and summer's growth. This was not merely a tale. It was a cosmic explanation for the very rhythm of life and death that every farmer witnessed each year, giving emotional depth to the dormancy of winter and the explosion of life each spring. Similarly, in the Fertile Crescent of Mesopotamia, the constellation we know as Virgo was associated with the goddess Shola, often depicted holding an ear of grain. Her appearance in the night sky coincided with the crucial harvest period, making her a celestial signal, a divine overseer ensuring the grain was gathered at its peak. Across the planet, the delicate star cluster of the Pleiades served as perhaps the most universal agricultural guardian. In Greece, their heliacal rising in may mark the start of the sailing and farming season, while their setting in November signaled the time to harvest and take shelter. For the Maori of New Zealand, the Pleiades are known as Matariki. Their first pre-dawn rising in late June or early July marks the Maori New Year, a time of remembrance, celebration, and planning for the new planting season. Their disappearance for a period beforehand was seen as the cluster resting, gathering strength to guide the people into the next cycle of growth. This deep, intimate connection between sky and soil did more than just mark dates. It created a sacred synchronization. Human labor was not a struggle against nature, but a participation in a cosmic drama. Planting when the Pleiades returned was an act of faith, aligning one's work with the rhythm of the gods themselves. This celestial calendar provided a framework of certainty in an uncertain world, assuring communities that the sun would return, the rains would come, and the earth would bear fruit, so long as they watched the skies and honored the stories. This foundational need to align with celestial time would eventually inspire humanity to build not just schedules, but stone monuments that reached for the stars themselves. The sky was not just a flat canvas for stories, it was a grand, multi-layered palace. To truly explain the movement of the stars, our ancestors had to build a home for them, a cosmic architecture of staggering complexity and beauty. These were not simple myths, they were detailed blueprints for the entire universe, with each tier, each world, each direction governed by its own celestial guardian. This layered cosmology transformed the heavens from a performance into a place, a structured reality where every motion had its designated stage. In the ancient city of Babylon, the Great Ziggurat was more than a temple, it was a physical model of the cosmos. Its 7 tiers mirrored the 7 heavens of Mesopotamian belief, each level ruled by a different planetary deity. Climbing the ziggurat was a symbolic ascent through the celestial spheres, moving from the realm of the moon closest to Earth, upward through the realms of Mercury, Venus, the Sun, Mars, Jupiter, and finally to the highest heaven of Saturn, the realm of fixed stars and ultimate order. This was a universe of precise, divine bureaucracy, where the wandering planets moved along their appointed paths within their own stratified domains. Far to the north, the Norse envisioned a cosmos not of stacked layers, but of interconnected worlds, all held within the immense branches and roots of the world tree, Yggdrasil. This was a horizontal and vertical cosmology with 9 distinct worlds existing on different planes. Asgard, the realm of the gods, was in the high branches, while Midgard, the world of humanity, sat in the middle. The stars, sun, and moon were not gods in palaces, but luminous objects traveling along set paths within this arboreal architecture. The serpent Nidhogg gnawed at the roots below, while an eagle sat in the highest boughs, their conflict creating the winds that stirred the branches and by extension all of creation. Here, celestial motion was part of the tree's very breath, a living system. For many Aboriginal Australian cultures, the structure of the cosmos was woven into the landscape itself during the dreaming. The sky was often seen as multiple, translucent layers, like sheets of mica or bark, resting above the earth. Ancestral beings moved between these layers, their journeys creating the features of the land and the patterns of the stars. In some traditions, the sky world is a country just like the earth, with its own rivers, camps, and hunters, whose fires we see as stars. The Milky Way might be a river in that sky country, or a pathway of ash from a great celestial fire. These models provided something profound, a comprehensive worldview that situated humanity within a structured, meaningful cosmos. You were not living under a random sky. You were living in a specific neighborhood of a vast, divine metropolis with rules, rulers, and a clear sense of place. The movement of the stars was simply the traffic of that metropolis, the daily business of the guardians going about their duties in their assigned districts. This cosmic architecture did more than explain. It anchored a culture's entire identity, making their stories the literal pillars of reality. And just as these models gave structure to the sky, they gave purpose to the ground, inspiring humanity to build monuments that reached up to touch that sacred geometry. The same stars that formed a hunter in Greece became 3 fishermen in a Polynesian lagoon or a celestial prince in ancient China. This was not a matter of right or wrong vision, but a profound act of cultural self-portrait. The specific pantheon of celestial guardians a society chose to see in the night sky became a core part of its identity, a shared storybook that forged collective memory and encoded its deepest values into the very fabric of the cosmos. This celestial canon was far more than folklore. It was a living, breathing system woven into the structure of daily life, religion, and power. In ancient Egypt, priests divided the night sky into 36 star groups called decans. Each decan rose just before dawn for a 10-day period, creating a star clock that marked the hours of the night and the weeks of the year. But these were not just timekeepers, they were divine entities. Each decan was associated with a specific deity and was believed to influence events on Earth during its watch. This system was meticulously recorded in tomb ceilings and on coffin lids, creating a map for the soul's journey through the afterlife, guarded by these stellar sentinels. The sky's order directly mirrored and guaranteed the pharaoh's divine right to maintain order on Earth. Far across the Atlantic, the Maya and other Mesoamerican peoples developed an intense focus on the planet Venus. They tracked its complex cycles with astonishing precision, noting its appearances as the morning and evening star. To them, Venus was not a benevolent goddess of love, but often a fearsome deity associated with war and rain. Its cycles were consulted to determine the most auspicious times for royal coronations, military campaigns, and agricultural rituals. The ruler's ability to predict and interpret the movements of this celestial warrior was a direct source of political authority, proving his connection to the cosmic forces that governed life and death. In the Vedic tradition of India, the sky was mapped through the nakshatras, 27 or 28 lunar mansions. Each nakshatra is a segment of the ecliptic path that the moon passes through during its monthly cycle, and each is ruled by a specific deity and associated with a symbol like a chariot, a hand, or a pearl. From the moment of birth, an individual's nakshatra was calculated, influencing their personality, life path, and auspicious timings for every major life event, from marriage to starting a journey. This system wove celestial rhythm into the very concept of personal and social destiny. In each case, the mythic sky became a mirror and a manual. It justified political hierarchy by linking kings to sun gods or star warriors. It encoded social law by assigning celestial patrons to different castes or classes. It preserved history by turning the deeds of ancestral heroes into permanent constellations. The celestial canon was the ultimate cultural textbook, its lessons shining down every single night. Yet this powerful act of projection meant that the society's own structures, including its conflicts and inequalities, were often reflected back in the stories of the gods. The sky could be used to sanctify the existing social order, for better or worse, making the heavens a contested space where human authority sought divine endorsement. This intimate link between celestial story and earthly power would inspire humanity's most audacious act, to build monuments on a scale that could physically converse with these starry guardians. Yet the heavens were not a place of only light and guidance. For every guardian offering hope, there existed a counterpart in the darkness, a celestial omen whose appearance spelled hardship, illness, or dread. To complete the cosmic drama, our ancestors needed to personify not just order but chaos, not just life but the forces that threatened to unravel it. These were the dark guardians, stars and planets seen as direct conduits for misfortune, giving a terrifying but comprehensible face to the unpredictable calamities of existence. In the scorching heat of late summer, when the Nile's floodwaters receded and stagnant pools bred sickness, the ancient Greeks and Romans looked skyward with apprehension. The brilliant star Sirius, the hound of Orion, would rise just before the sun. They called this period the dog days, believing the combined heat of the sun and this fierce dog star brought upon humanity a season of fever, lethargy, and plague. Sirius was not merely a star, it was a celestial beast whose panting breath was the oppressive, disease-ridden air. This narrative provided a cause for the seasonal suffering, a target for their anxiety that was as vast and powerful as the affliction itself. Far across the ocean, the Aztecs held a profound terror of the stars themselves during an eclipse. They believed the sky was populated by the Tzitzimime, skeletal star demons who dwelled in the darkness around the sun. During an eclipse, when the sun's light was extinguished, these demons could descend to Earth to devour humans and bring about the end of the current world age. Here, the temporary disappearance of the Sun Guardian was not just an attack, but an invasion, a moment when the balance of the cosmos tipped toward absolute darkness. This myth gave a vivid, monstrous form to the existential fear of cosmic collapse. In Mesopotamia, the demoness Lamashtu was a figure of pure dread, often associated with the planet Mars when it appeared in certain ominous positions. She was blamed for miscarriage, infant illness, and the spread of disease among mothers and children. By attributing these very real, painful tragedies to a specific celestial influence, the chaos of loss was given a name and a location in the heavens. It created a logic, however frightening, where suffering was not random, but the result of a malign intelligence one could potentially identify and, through ritual, attempt to repel. These stories of dark guardians served a crucial, if grim, psychological purpose. They transformed diffuse, overwhelming terror into a structured narrative. A plague was not a mystery, it was the work of the dog star. A failed harvest was not bad luck, it was the anger of a celestial demon. This framework, while frightening, was ultimately less paralyzing than sheer randomness. If catastrophe had a celestial author, then it might also have a celestial remedy. This belief in a balanced sky, a realm of both grace and terror, demanded not just observation but action. It required a constant, careful dialogue with the heavens, a series of rituals and offerings designed to appease the wrathful and strengthen the benevolent, maintaining the precarious harmony of the world. The myths were not just stories to be told, they were scripts to be performed. Across the ancient world, the relationship with celestial guardians was an active, reciprocal exchange, a sacred technology of light, stone, and ceremony designed to keep the cosmos on its proper course. Picture the inner circle of Stonehenge on the morning of the summer solstice. As the first sliver of sun crests the horizon, a single, brilliant shaft of light pierces the monument's heart, perfectly aligned with the heel stone. This was not an accident of architecture, it was a moment of communion. For the people who built it, this alignment was a direct confirmation that their rituals, their offerings, and their very society were in harmony with the sun guardian's eternal path. The monument itself was a machine for capturing celestial time, transforming the abstract movement of the heavens into a tangible, awe-inspiring event witnessed by the entire community. In Egypt, at the great temple of Karnak, a similar drama unfolded on the winter solstice. The axis of the temple was oriented so that the rising sun would travel down the long, dark hallway of the sanctuary to illuminate the statue of the god Amun-Ra deep within his shrine. For a few precious moments, the stone idol was filled with the living light of the god it represented, a divine recharge that reaffirmed the pharaoh's role as the sun god's representative on earth. These alignments were a form of cosmic diplomacy, a practical and visible covenant between humanity and the heavens, but the interaction went far beyond architecture. It demanded active, communal participation. In Mesopotamia, the Babylonian New Year festival, the Akitu, was a 12-day ritual of profound political and cosmic significance. Centered around the god Marduk, who was associated with the planet Jupiter, the festival reenacted his mythical victory over the forces of chaos. The king would undergo a symbolic humiliation before Marduk's statue, have his royal insignia removed, and then be reinstated, his authority literally renewed by the celestial king. This elaborate ceremony was believed to ensure Marduk's continued supremacy in the divine council, which in turn guaranteed another year of stability, fertility, and order for the kingdom. The planet Jupiter's steady, kingly motion across the sky was both the model for and the result of this carefully orchestrated human ritual. High in the Andes, the Inca Empire staged the Inti Raymi, the festival of the sun, during the winter solstice in June. As the sun reached its farthest point north, fear grew that the life-giving guardian might continue to weaken and abandon them. The Inti Raymi was a massive, state-sponsored plea. Led by the Sapa Inca, who was considered the son of the sun, the ceremony involved sacrifices, feasts, and dances intended to coax the sun back, to strengthen it for its return journey and ensure the harvests would return. Here, myth became a collective act of will, a performance so powerful it could influence the trajectory of a star. From the stone circles of Europe to the stepped pyramids of Mesoamerica, these practices represent the peak of celestial mythology as an applied science. It was a system where observation, narrative, and action fused into a single discipline for navigating reality. The rituals were the operating manual for the cosmos, a technology of prayer and alignment that maintained the delicate balance of the world. Yet this very success, this deep need to predict and placate, would soon plant the seeds of its own transformation. For to truly predict the whims of the gods, one had to look past their stories and study the patterns of their motion with a new, more critical eye. A single clay tablet from ancient Babylon holds the quiet beginning of a revolution. It is not inscribed with a prayer to Marduk or a story of celestial war, but with columns of numbers, precise records of the moon's position night after night. This humble object represents a pivotal shift in humanity's relationship with the sky. The celestial guardians were still revered, but a new question was being asked, not who moves the stars, but how. Meticulous, generations-long observation began to reveal something astonishing beneath the apparent whims of the gods, a bedrock of predictable mathematical patterns. The Babylonians, masterful bureaucrats of the cosmos, compiled these observations into the world's first known astronomical almanacs called ephemerides. These clay tablets could predict lunar eclipses, the risings and settings of planets, not by interpreting divine moods, but by applying complex arithmetical schemes derived from centuries of data. The planet Venus was still the goddess Ishtar, but her movements could now be forecast with chilling accuracy, her personality giving way to a timetable. This was a monumental leap, the first major step in separating celestial mechanics from celestial mythology. Across the Mediterranean, Greek philosophers embarked on a different but parallel journey. They moved from the myth of Atlas physically holding up the sky to proposing natural philosophical models. Thinkers like Eudoxus and later Aristotle envisioned a cosmos of nested, transparent crystalline spheres, each carrying a planet or star in its perfect circular motion. In this model, the erratic retrograde motion of Mars was not the god of war changing his mind, but an optical illusion created by the combination of multiple uniform circular motions. The celestial guardians were becoming less like capricious personalities and more like the intricate gears and regulators of a grand mechanical clockwork, sublime in its order but impersonal in its operation. This work culminated with Claudius Ptolemy in the 2nd century, whose mathematical masterpiece, the Almagest, provided a comprehensive predictive model of the universe using complex circles upon circles called epicycles. It could forecast planetary positions with remarkable precision for its time. Yet, tellingly, Ptolemy also authored the Tetrabiblos, a foundational text on astrology. This duality captures the moment perfectly. The mythic narrative and the mathematical description existed side by side, one for meaning, the other for prediction. The guardians had not been dismissed, but they were being relocated from the throne room of myth to the engine room of geometry. The sky was slowly becoming a puzzle to be solved rather than a story to be told, setting the stage for a profound tension that would echo for centuries to come. The precise mathematics of the Babylonian clay tablets and the crystalline spheres of Greek philosophy introduced a new voice into the conversation about the cosmos, the voice of logic, of logos. For centuries, the sky had been understood through mythos, the poetic, narrative truth that gave the universe personality and meaning. Now, a fundamental tension emerged, a quiet but profound clash between these two ways of knowing. Could the sun be both the god Helios driving his chariot and a distant, physical object obeying natural laws? This question was not merely academic, it was dangerous. In 5th century Athens, the philosopher Anaxagoras dared to propose that the sun was not a deity, but a mass of incandescent metal, and that the moon shone with reflected light. For this act of rational inquiry, of privileging logos over the city's sacred mythos, he was charged with impiety, his teachings deemed a threat to the moral order of the state. His trial was a stark, early battle in a war for the soul of the heavens. Similarly, in Rome, the appearance of a comet was almost always interpreted through the lens of political mythos. When a comet blazed after the death of Julius Caesar, it was officially declared by his heir, Augustus, to be the soul of the deified Caesar ascending to take his place among the immortal guardians. This narrative served a clear political purpose, legitimizing the new imperial order. To suggest it was merely a natural celestial object, a wandering iceberg of rock and dust, would have been to strip it of its potent symbolic power. The celestial guardians, once the sole authors of cosmic truth, now had to share authority with geometry and prediction. This intellectual struggle redefined humanity's relationship with the sky in a profound way. The primary question shifted from who moves the stars and what do they want to how do the stars move and by what laws. It was a move from a relationship of storytelling and ritual supplication to one of measurement, calculation, and model building. The sky was becoming an object of study, not just a subject of worship. Yet, to say the guardians were defeated would be a profound misunderstanding. They did not vanish, instead they evolved, finding new roles within this emerging rational cosmos. They retreated from the engine room of planetary motion, but took up residence in the human heart and imagination, awaiting their next syncretic chapter. The celestial guardians did not vanish with the rise of new worldviews. They simply learned to wear new masks. As dominant monotheistic religions and philosophical systems spread across the ancient world, the old gods of the sky faced a critical juncture. They could be erased, redefined, or quietly absorbed. The strategy that emerged most powerfully was syncretism, a blending of traditions where the old stories found a way to survive within the new frameworks, often hiding in plain sight. One of the most visible examples lies beneath our feet, in the very stones of early Christian churches. Across Europe, many of the first churches were deliberately constructed atop older pagan sacred sites, places that were already aligned to solstices or other celestial events. The new church would often maintain that same alignment, so that the light of the Christian sun would flood the altar on the same holy day that the pagan sun had once illuminated a standing stone. The guardian was replaced, but its celestial schedule, its sacred timing, was preserved, weaving the old cosmic rhythm into the fabric of the new faith. This was not a conquest of myth, but a transplantation of its roots. The names in our sky tell a similar story of survival. Look at the stars in the constellation Orion. The brilliant red star in his shoulder is Betelgeuse, a name derived from the Arabic phrase Yad al-Jawza, meaning the hand of al-Jawza, a pre-Islamic feminine figure. The star Rigel comes from Rail Jawza al-Yusra, the left foot of al-Jawza. These are not scientific labels, they are fragments of ancient Arabian star lore, carried forward by Islamic astronomers and later adopted by the West. The myths were stripped away, but the names, like fossilized poetry, remain, a permanent echo of the guardians who once ruled those patches of sky. This process of assimilation reshaped our very experience of time. The 7-day week, a concept with Babylonian origins, was adopted by the Romans. They named the days after their planetary gods, who were themselves versions of earlier deities. When Germanic peoples adopted the system, they replaced the Roman names with their own mythological equivalents. Sunday and Monday honor the sun and moon. Tuesday is for Tyr, a god associated with Mars. Wednesday derives from Woden, linked to Mercury. Thursday is Thor's day, connected to Jupiter. Friday belongs to Frigg or Freyja, akin to Venus. And Saturday retains Saturn. Each day is a silent tribute to a celestial guardian, their stories baked into the calendar we still use, their rhythms governing the mundane flow of our lives. Within more esoteric traditions, the old structures found new tenets. In Hermetic and Kabbalistic thought that flourished in the medieval and Renaissance periods, the 7 classical planets were not gods, but they were still powerful cosmic layers. Each planetary sphere was often governed by a biblical archangel, Michael for the sun, Raphael for Mercury, Gabriel for the moon. The celestial architecture of the Babylonians and Greeks was preserved, but the personal guardians were replaced with divine messengers, maintaining the hierarchy of the heavens while conforming to monotheistic theology. Perhaps the most seamless integration occurred in India, where the ancient Vedic system of the nakshatras, the lunar mansions each with their own deity and myth, was never discarded. Instead, it was meticulously woven into the sophisticated mathematical astronomy of figures like Aryabhata and Brahmagupta. The myths provided the symbolic and ritual framework, while the mathematics provided predictive power. One did not replace the other, they worked in tandem, a perfect fusion of mythos and logos where the story gave meaning to the calculation, and the calculation confirmed the order within the story. This survival strategy reveals the incredible resilience of these cosmic narratives. When their literal truth was questioned by philosophy or supplanted by new religions, they retreated into the substrate of culture, into folklore, art, allegory, and language. They became a shared symbolic language, a way to speak about fate, emotion, and the human condition without invoking doctrine. The celestial guardians were demoted from sovereigns to symbols, but as symbols, their power became even more diffuse and enduring. They waited in the wings of history, their stories half forgotten but never gone, ready to be rediscovered and re-enchanted when the human gaze turned back to the stars with a new kind of wonder. A canvas awash in soft gold and sea foam holds the moment a celestial guardian is born. Sandro Botticelli's masterpiece, The Birth of Venus, painted in the 1480s, does not depict a scientific chart. It is a declaration. Here was Venus, the Roman goddess of love, emerging from the sea foam on a scallop shell, her form a perfect ideal, her arrival heralded by wind gods and a nymph with a flowing cloak. This was not a religious icon but a profound re-enchantment. The Renaissance, with its rediscovery of classical texts, did not just revive old stories, it gave them a new, breathtakingly beautiful home in art and literature. The celestial guardians, long demoted by philosophy and absorbed by religion, were reborn as symbols of human emotion, cosmic order, and artistic inspiration. Artists like Botticelli and poets like Shakespeare used them not to explain planetary motion, but to explore the motion of the human heart. In Romeo and Juliet, the doomed lovers are described as star-crossed, their fates written in the malign influence of the stars, a direct invocation of the old planetary guardians as architects of destiny. This was mythology as psychological language, a way to express forces of love, melancholy, and ambition that felt as vast and uncontrollable as the heavens themselves. The Renaissance mind saw the universe as a great chain of being, a hierarchical ladder stretching from the earth to the empyrean heaven. Poets populated this cosmic architecture with vivid detail. In Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy, written centuries earlier but deeply influential in this period, the poet's journey takes him through the celestial spheres of the moon, Mercury, Venus, and up to the fixed stars, each sphere a step closer to divine illumination, populated by souls and angelic intelligences. John Milton, in Paradise Lost, would later describe angelic orders arranging the stars in their courses, blending Christian theology with the classical model of celestial spheres. This artistic synthesis created a rich, layered cosmos where science and symbol could coexist. Even the shocking new discoveries of the era were initially processed through this mythic lens. When Tycho Brahe observed a brilliant new star, a supernova, in 1572, it was seen by many not just as a celestial event, but as a portent, a divine sign written in the now mutable heavens. The revolutionary heliocentric model proposed by Copernicus, which displaced Earth from the center of the universe, was often explained and illustrated using the familiar imagery of Apollo's sun chariot at the heart of the cosmic dance, a mythic wrapper for a radical new truth. The guardians had become aesthetic and allegorical tools. They represented the four humors, with the choleric temperament ruled by Mars and the melancholic by Saturn. They symbolized virtues and vices in elaborate court masks and pageants. This artistic legacy was crucial. for it ensured that the stories of Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn remained alive in the public imagination, not as gods to be feared, but as archetypes to be contemplated. They became a shared cultural vocabulary, a bridge between the emerging cold mechanics of the cosmos and the warm, messy reality of human experience. Long after astronomers stopped believing in literal chariots, artists and writers kept the charioteers riding through our collective dreams, preserving a sense of wonder that would soon be tested by the telescope's unblinking eye. The Renaissance painted the gods back into the heavens as symbols of beauty, but the 20th century would give them a new home deep within the human mind itself. Walk into any modern movie theater and you are entering a temple of these reborn guardians. The epic scrolling text at the start of a Star Wars film does not read, "A long time ago in a galaxy governed by impersonal physics." It declares that this is a story from a place far, far away where destinies are still written in the stars. The heroes and villains on screen are modern constellations, their archetypal roles as familiar to us as Orion's belt was to an ancient Greek. This is where the celestial guardians made their most profound modern migration, from the night sky into the realm of psychology and mass storytelling. The Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung proposed that humanity shares a collective unconscious, a deep psychic layer containing universal patterns or archetypes. These are not specific images, but fundamental forms like the hero, the shadow, the mother, the wise old man, and the trickster. To Jung, the gods and goddesses of ancient myth, including those celestial guardians, were not mistaken beliefs, but powerful outward projections of these inner psychic realities. The sun god was not a being who drove a chariot. He was the archetypal symbol of the conscious self, the heroic principle that brings light, order, and identity. The moon goddess was not a literal deity, but the archetype of the unconscious, of intuition, cycles, and the hidden depths. This psychological interpretation offered a stunning new validity to the old myths. Their power did not come from describing literal mechanics, but from giving form to the most fundamental forces of human experience. This is why the hero's journey, as outlined by mythologist Joseph Campbell, feels so universally resonant. It is a psychological pattern mirrored in the sky. The hero's call to adventure is the sunrise. The descent into the underworld or the confrontation with a great villain is the sun's perilous journey through the night, battling the forces of chaos. The return with a boon for the community is the triumphant dawn. We are not just watching Luke Skywalker or Frodo Baggins, we are witnessing the solar myth reborn in cinematic light. These archetypes now shape our most popular narratives. In comic books, Superman, an orphan from a doomed world who draws power from our yellow sun, is a direct solar hero. Batman, operating in the shadows of Gotham, governed by the trauma of his past, embodies lunar and mercurial archetypes of the knight and the trickster. The wise mentor, whether it is Obi-Wan Kenobi, Dumbledore, or Gandalf, carries the archetypal energy of Jupiter or Saturn, the elder guardian offering wisdom and imposing necessary trials. Even our language retains this celestial imprint. We speak of someone having a mercurial personality, a jovial demeanor, or a saturnine mood, directly linking human temperament to the old planetary influences. This deep-seated resonance is why a simple constellation can still stir something in us. When we look up at Orion, we are not seeing a hunter, we are connecting with the archetype of the warrior, the protector. When we find the Pleiades, we touch the archetype of the sisterhood, of community and sorrowful beauty. The stories have moved from the sky to the screen and the page, but their function remains unchanged. They help us navigate the inner cosmos of human emotion, conflict, and growth. Our connection to the stars is now a psychological one, enhanced by the very technology that once seemed to disenchant the heavens, allowing us to project these eternal stories onto a screen, and in doing so, understand ourselves a little better. The rockets that carried humanity beyond our world bore the names of the very gods they once sought to study. In the summer of 1969, when the first human beings set foot upon another celestial body, they did so as part of Project Apollo. The mission patch bore the image of the sun god himself, driving his chariot across the lunar surface. This was not an accident of branding, but a profound declaration of lineage. Our most advanced scientific endeavors are still christened from the ancient pantheons, creating a direct and poetic bridge between the silicon chip and the starry myth. The space age did not end the tradition of celestial guardians. It gave them new domains to rule. Consider the robotic emissaries we send into the dark. The Cassini spacecraft, which spent 13 years orbiting Saturn, was named for the astronomer who discovered gaps in the planet's rings, but its very destination carries the name of the Roman god of time and harvest. The twin Viking landers that touched down on Mars invoked the spirit of Norse explorers, while the planet they studied is named for a god of war. Even the moons of Mars continue this narrative. They are called Phobos and Deimos, the Greek spirits of fear and terror who accompanied their father Ares into battle. Our probes are not just machines, they are modern-day heroes on mythic quests, sent to unravel the secrets of deities we now understand as worlds. This practice extends far beyond the planets. As we discover new objects in the distant reaches of our solar system, we continue to draw from a global well of stories. The dwarf planet Makemake, orbiting in the Kuiper Belt, is named for the creator god of the Rapa Nui people of Easter Island. Another Kuiper Belt object, the reddish, distant Sedna, bears the name of the Inuit goddess of the sea and marine animals, a figure from a story of resilience and deep, cold waters. It is a fitting guardian for a frozen world in the abyss. Every time an astronomer proposes a name for a new asteroid or a distant moon, they are participating in a ritual as old as humanity itself. They are looking at a new point of light and asking, what story does this belong to? This ongoing nomenclature is a silent admission that data alone is not enough. We possess the equations to plot a course to Jupiter, but we still feel the need to invoke the king of the gods when we arrive. We can calculate the composition of an asteroid, but we give it a name like Eros or Psyche, tying it to tales of love and the soul. The mechanics explain the how, but the myth continues to suggest the why, offering a layer of meaning and cultural memory that pure science does not provide. It is a beautiful synthesis where our cutting-edge exploration is framed by our oldest poetry. As we prepare to return to the moon with the Artemis program, named for Apollo's twin sister, the goddess of the hunt and the wilderness, we are consciously writing the next chapter in a celestial epic that began by a campfire millennia ago. This invites a fascinating question as our probes venture farther and our telescopes see deeper. What new guardians will we appoint? What stories from our global culture will we project onto the exoplanets and nebulae we discover? And what future myths, born from our own journey to the stars, might we one day see written in the light? The discovery of a single new star was once a portent that shook kingdoms, but today our telescopes log thousands of alien suns in a single sweep of data. We have mapped a cosmos teeming with exoplanets, worlds orbiting distant stars, and in doing so we have thrown open the gates to a mythic frontier vaster than any our ancestors could have dreamed. Each new detection, from molten lava spheres to frozen ice giants, presents a blank celestial slate. The old guardians of our solar system, from Mercury to Saturn, have completed their family. The question now is not who moves these new stars, but what stories will live upon these new worlds. We stand at the precipice of a new age of myth-making, where the human impulse to find narrative in the cosmos is about to expand across light years. The first wave of names has already begun, not with the grand titles of gods, but with technical designations like Kepler 452b or TRAPPIST 1e. These are placeholders, the clay waiting for the sculptor's hand. As these worlds move from data points in a graph to imagined landscapes in our collective mind, the naming will inevitably follow a more profound path. We might see a return to a truly global pantheon, drawing not just from Greco-Roman lore, but from the rich mythologies of Africa, the Americas, Asia, and Oceania, creating an inclusive celestial canon for an interstellar humanity. A planet shrouded in perpetual, swirling storms might earn the name of a Polynesian sea deity. A desert world under a red sun could be named for Sekhmet, the Egyptian lioness goddess of the harsh sun. The process itself becomes a new kind of story, a reflection of our evolving global identity. Yet we may also invent entirely new myths, born from the physics of these alien environments. Consider a tidally locked planet, where one face is eternal day and the other endless night. Such a place almost demands a myth of a tragic lovers separated by a burning terminator line, forever reaching for one another across an uncrossable barrier of light. The crimson glow of an exoplanet orbiting a cool red dwarf star could inspire tales of a cosmic forge, its dim sun a dying ember tended by a smith god crafting new elements in the stellar ashes. These would not be stories about gods who move the stars, but stories about beings who live upon them, born from the marriage of our data and our imagination. This myth-making impulse is far from a relic. It is proof that the need for celestial guardians is a permanent feature of the human psyche, an essential tool for confronting the unknown. When the James Webb Space Telescope sends back its first atmospheric spectra of a potentially habitable world, the scientific community will analyze gases like oxygen and methane. But the public, the poets, the dreamers will immediately begin to wonder what grows there, who breathes that air. The data provides the canvas, but the myth provides the meaning, transforming chemical signatures into possibilities for oceans, forests, and skies. This enduring need brings us full circle, back to that primal figure by the campfire, tracing lines between the stars. The scale has changed from a single sky to a galaxy of possibilities, but the fundamental act remains the same. We look into the abyss, and we cannot help but try to see a face, to hear a story, to find a guardian in the glorious, terrifying dark. Our future myths will be written not in the familiar patterns of our constellations, but in the imagined histories of a billion alien sunsets, a testament to the fact that we explore not just to map space, but to fill it with meaning. That quiet moment of looking up at a clear night sky is perhaps the most democratic experience of all we possess. It is shared by a child on a camping trip, a poet searching for a metaphor, and an astronaut gazing back at the shimmering blue marble of Earth. Beyond any scientific explanation or practical utility of navigation, this feeling points to the deepest, most persistent function of the celestial guardians. They were never just explanations for motion. They were the essential mediators of our wonder, the translators of an overwhelming cosmos into a drama we could emotionally inhabit. The sheer, incomprehensible scale of the universe can evoke a profound existential loneliness, a sense of our own fleeting insignificance against the backdrop of billions of years and trillions of stars. The myths of celestial guardians directly countered this. They transformed that vast, impersonal machinery into a neighborhood of personalities, a cosmic family with whom we could have a relationship, however distant. When the sun was a charioteer and the moon a goddess, the universe was not empty, it was attentive. Our smallness was not a cause for despair, but a part of a grand, storied order. We were not meaningless specks, but an audience to a divine performance, participants in a cycle of rituals that helped maintain cosmic balance. The stories answered the question science alone cannot address. Why does any of this matter to a conscious, storytelling creature living on a tiny world? They provided a framework of meaning that made our brief, brilliant lives feel connected to something eternal. In our modern age, this function is more vital than ever. We live under domes of light pollution that bleach the stars from our urban skies, and our attention is consumed by the urgent, close-up glow of screens. The cosmic perspective has shrunk. Re-engaging with these ancient stories, even as metaphorical archetypes, is a way to rekindle that primal sense of connection. It is an act of deliberate re-enchantment, a reminder that the universe is not just a collection of objects to be catalogued, but a source of sublime inspiration. To learn that the red star Aldebaran is the eye of a celestial bull in one story, and the resting place of ancestors in another, is to recover a layer of richness that pure astrophysics, for all its glory, does not offer. It allows awe to sit alongside understanding, wonder to walk hand in hand with knowledge. This reflective look inward at our own need for cosmic narrative prepares us to look outward with new eyes, to see the physical, enduring monuments where that need was literally set in stone, where humanity's first conversations with the stars were etched into the very landscape. The silent stones speak a language of light and shadow. Scattered across our planet, from the windswept plains of Salisbury to the dense jungles of the Yucatan, stand monuments that are far more than tombs or temples. They are the ultimate archaeological testimony to the celestial drama, colossal machines built not of gears but of belief, engineered to capture moments of cosmic alignment. These structures are the physical, enduring proof of the marriage between celestial myth and meticulous, generations-long observation. To stand before the great trilithons of Stonehenge is to stand inside a Neolithic computer, its architecture precisely calibrated to the sun's extreme northern and southern risings on the solstices. On the dawn of the summer solstice, the sun's first ray pierces the monument's heart, striking the altar stone after passing perfectly between the uprights of the outer Sarsen circle. This was not an accident, it was an orchestrated event, a moment when the Sun Guardian's power was channeled directly into the human realm, validating rituals, renewing community bonds, and marking the peak of the sun's life-giving strength. The immense effort required to haul these multi-ton stones from distant quarries underscores a profound truth: harmonizing with the celestial order was worth any earthly cost. Across the Atlantic, the Pyramid of El Castillo at Chichen Itza performs a different kind of celestial theater. During the spring and autumn equinoxes, as the sun sets, a play of light and shadow creates the illusion of a serpent slithering down the northern staircase. The diamond-backed pattern of light connects the carved serpent head at the base to the temple at the summit, bringing the feathered serpent god Kukulkan to life in a descent from the heavens. This spectacle transforms an abstract astronomical event, the day when light and dark are equal, into a visceral, communal experience of a deity's descent. It encoded the knowledge of the solar calendar into the very fabric of the city, ensuring that every citizen, regardless of literacy, would witness and understand their place within the cosmic cycle. The pyramid was both a calendar and a cathedral, a ritual stage where myth became momentarily real. In the heart of ancient Egypt, the Temple of Karnak takes this principle to a staggering scale. Its entire design is a slow, processional journey toward a celestial encounter. The complex is aligned so that on the winter solstice, the rising sun would travel down its long, darkened axis through a series of towering pylons and courtyards to finally illuminate the innermost sanctuary and the statue of the god Amun-Ra. This was the climax of a symbolic journey from the outer world to the divine inner chamber, a moment when stone was animated by starlight, recharging the pharaoh's mandate to maintain cosmic and earthly order. These monuments are frozen mythology. They demonstrate that for these societies, understanding and interacting with the celestial guardians was not a peripheral hobby. It was central to survival, identity, and power. The alignments are so precise that modern archaeologists can use them to reverse engineer the astronomical knowledge of the builders, often discovering that their observations of star cycles or lunar patterns were astonishingly accurate. By studying these silent stones, we learn their mythic priorities, a culture that invested everything in a solar alignment, like the builders of Stonehenge, was likely focused on agricultural cycles and solar deities. A society that built for the equinox and the serpent, like the Maya, wove concepts of duality, renewal, and a specific deity into the foundation of time itself. These structures are the ultimate expression of the practical power of belief. They show us that the stories of the sky were not just told, they were built with an ingenuity and commitment that still inspires awe. They are bridges of stone reaching for the stars, permanent invitations to witness the conversation between humanity and the heavens, a dialogue that would soon be transcribed in a more portable, but no less revolutionary form. The stones stand as silent testimony to separate cultures, yet their stories often whisper the same celestial secrets. Place a star chart from ancient Greece beside one from the North American plains, and you might experience a shock of recognition. There, in the northern sky, cultures separated by entire oceans both saw the shape of a great bear. In Greece, it was Callisto, transformed and placed among the stars. For the Mi'kmaq, Algonquin, and other Native American nations, the same 7 stars formed a bear as well, pursued by 3 hunters. How is this possible? This is the compelling puzzle of comparative mythology, a discipline that lines up the world's star stories to find patterns in our collective imagination. The parallels are too striking and too widespread to ignore. Beyond the bear, a celestial hunter appears globally, from Orion stalking the Pleiades in Greek myth to the great hunter Nimrod in some Arabian star lore, and the figure of the 3 kings or the fisherman in other traditions, all centered on that same brilliant belt of 3 stars. These echoes suggest something fundamental about how the human mind perceives patterns and creates meaning from the same nightly spectacle. Scholars have proposed several fascinating theories to explain these convergences. One is simple diffusion, the slow travel of stories along trade routes like the Silk Road, where tales of Mesopotamian dragons could eventually influence Chinese celestial serpents. Another, more profound, is the concept of archetypes, those deep psychic patterns Carl Jung described, which would naturally express themselves in similar symbolic forms across isolated cultures. But perhaps the most compelling idea is independent invention in response to universal stimuli. The human brain, gazing at the distinctive, close-knit cluster of the Pleiades, independently in Japan, in Australia, and in Greece, saw a small, tight group and thought of sisters or a flock of birds. The winding, river-like path of the Milky Way naturally inspired fluvial myths worldwide. The dramatic, terrifying event of a solar eclipse almost universally demanded a narrative of something consuming the sun, leading independently to dragons, wolves, or demons from Scandinavia to China to the Americas. This is where the celestial guardians reveal their deepest truth. They are not evidence of a single, lost global civilization, but of a shared human cognitive toolkit. We all looked up at the same imposing red wanderer and saw a symbol of war or conflict. We all witnessed the sun's perilous daily disappearance and crafted a story of a heroic journey through a dangerous underworld. The specific names changed, but the core questions were identical. What is that bright light? Why does it move? What does its behavior mean for us? The comparative approach strips away the local details to reveal this universal skeleton of wonder. It shows us that the diversity of celestial myth is not a cacophony but a chorus. Every culture sang its own verse with its own heroes and its own gods, but the song itself was the same, a hymn to the mystery of the cosmos composed by the human mind. Recognizing these shared stories is a powerful, humbling realization. It tells us that long before globalization, we were already united under a single, starry roof, all asking the same questions and using the same narrative tools to sketch the answers. This shared heritage in the stars forms the final, profound layer of understanding before we gather all these threads together for our concluding reflection. Our most advanced telescopes now chart the cold equations of a galaxy's spin, yet we still feel a primal pull to trace the dragon or the hunter in its starry swirl. This is the quiet legacy of the celestial guardians, and it holds a profound lesson for our modern age. In a world saturated with data and disconnected from natural rhythms, these ancient sky stories are not obsolete relics. They are vital reminders of what makes us human. They teach us, first and foremost, about our own boundless creativity and resilience. Faced with a terrifying, unpredictable cosmos, our ancestors did not retreat in fear. They leaned in with story. They used the only tools they had, imagination and observation, to build a framework of meaning that made the universe a home. That act of courageous creativity is a legacy we inherit every time we face an unknown, whether it is a personal challenge or a new scientific frontier. The myths also reveal our deep, hardwired drive to find patterns and narratives. Our brains are meaning-making machines, and the starry heavens presented the ultimate puzzle. Seeing a bear, a river, or a hero in the random scatter of stars was not a mistake. It was the first step in a cognitive journey that would eventually lead to geometry, physics, and the scientific method. The story came first, the calculation followed. This reveals the beautiful, complementary relationship between science and story. They are not enemies, but two sides of the same human coin. Science asks how the stars move and gives us the breathtaking mechanism, the equations of gravity and light. Story asks why it matters and gives us the meaning, the connection to our own hopes, fears, and place in the grand scheme. One explains the clockwork, the other tells us why we care about time. We need both to be fully human in a vast universe. These ancient narratives also offer practical wisdom for today. They are masterclasses in ecological awareness, born from societies that lived intimately by celestial cycles. Knowing that the heliacal rising of Sirius meant the Nile would flood, or that the position of the Pleiades dictated the planting season, created a sustainable rhythm of life deeply attuned to the cosmos. In an era of climate change and disconnection from natural cycles, these stories remind us that we are not separate from the larger systems of our world, but participants within them. They teach cultural humility, showing us how the same sky was woven into vastly different, equally valid tapestries of meaning. Recognizing that your Orion was another culture's great fisherman or celestial prince is a powerful antidote to a narrow worldview, opening a window into the rich diversity of human thought. And perhaps most urgently, they make a case for preserving the very thing that inspired them, our dark skies. Light pollution is erasing the Milky Way for a third of humanity, severing a connection that has guided and inspired us for millennia. These myths argue that a dark night sky is not a luxury but a shared cultural heritage, a canvas for wonder essential to the human spirit. The celestial guardians of old extend a final, timeless invitation. They ask us to look up, not just with the analytical eye of science, but with the awakened heart of the storyteller. To reclaim that sense of wonder is to reclaim a sense of place. It is to understand that we are not just living on a planet, but within a cosmos that is vast, beautiful, and deeply storied. The next time you find yourself under a clear night sky, try it. Let your eyes trace the old patterns and for a moment listen for the echo of the stories. You might just hear the distant hoofbeats of a solar chariot or the soft sigh of the celestial river, and remember that you, too, belong to this ancient, ongoing conversation between earth and sky. That profound impulse to connect a story to every star is the signature of our species. Our journey through the myths of celestial guardians reveals a simple, stunning truth. We have always been co-authors of the universe. We did not just observe the heavens, we collaborated with them, using the ink of our imagination to write motives and faces onto the moving lights. The chariot of the sun, the bear in the north, the dragon that swallows the moon, these were not primitive mistakes. They were brilliant acts of translation, turning the cold, silent mechanics of the cosmos into a warm, breathing drama we could understand and even influence. This narrative instinct was far more than entertainment. It was our foundational science. By tracking the sun god's chariot, we created the first accurate calendars. By following the celestial bear's turn, we built the first reliable compasses. By fearing the eclipse demon, we learned to predict its return with astonishing precision. These stories were also our first philosophy, asking the big questions about order and chaos, life and death, and our own small place within an infinite expanse. They show us that the human drive to understand the stars is utterly inseparable from our deeper need to find meaning and connection. We could not bear a silent, indifferent sky, so we gave it a voice, and in doing so, we found our own. The astronomer Carl Sagan captured this beautiful paradox when he reflected that we are a way for the cosmos to know itself. In our myths, the universe looked back at itself through human eyes and saw a story. So the next time you find yourself beneath a clear night sky, take a moment, let your eyes adjust to the ancient dark and trace those familiar patterns. You are not just looking at balls of gas and drifting rock. You are reading the oldest story ever told, a narrative written in light across generations. It is a story that belongs to everyone, a shared heritage of wonder that still has the power to connect us to the cosmos and to each other. If these tales of the stars have sparked your own sense of wonder, we would love to hear from you. Share your thoughts or your own favorite celestial story in the comments below. And if you are ready for more journeys into the mysteries of history and myth, be sure to subscribe.